I thought about wearing black today for the Denver Broncos funeral because it feels like that after a disastrous loss on Thursday Night Football. So let me ask this question. Who is more to blame for that 12-9 loss yesterday? Is it Russell Wilson or is it Nathaniel Hackett? Type 3 if you think it's Russ, NH if you think it's Hackett. I'm very curious to see what the poll results will show. I'm guessing it's going to be close to 50-50. If I had to pick one, I'm going with Russ. That interception was awful. Welcome in to the 2-3 Broncos Breakdown following an absolute blunder on Thursday Night Football. Al Michaels wanted to go to bed. His 90-year-old ass was like, this is really bad. This is actually really bad. It's so good kind of football. And it was just so bad it wasn't even good, actually. So it is full-on meltdown mode in Denver. We're going to run through some rumors and takeaways from Hackett to Russ to the defense. And at the end of the show, we've got some important injury news for you guys on Bolles and Darby and some other guys that got banged up in the loss last night. But let's start the meltdown mode. Full-on nuclear warfare right now. Fire Nathaniel Hackett. There was some talk of this early on after the Seahawks and the Texans and the Niners game. Now I don't think you're out of bounds for saying it whatsoever. Now, I do want to get this out here. I don't think it's going to happen after week 5. I don't think a coach gets canned that early. But in case you're wondering, Urban Meyer was 2-11 after he was fired from the Jags last year. He survived 13 weeks with Jacksonville. I don't think you're out of the realm of possibility to say Hackett might not even make the full season. I mean, returning for next year at this point feels like a long shot. Just the trajectory and the way things are going, it feels more unlikely than likely that Nathaniel Hackett is the head coach for the Broncos in 2023. He has just been lost, dazed, and confused. In over his head, it appears. And I talked about this in our post-game show last night, and I crunched the numbers today. I want to compare the stats of weeks 1 through 5 with Vic Fangio and Teddy Bridgewater last season to Hackett and Wilson this year. Teddy Bridgewater and Fangio averaged nearly 6 points more in the first 5 weeks of the season a year ago. More yards per game, more passing yards, more rushing yards, and fewer turnovers, and much better in this part of the game. Red zone. The Broncos this season, 14 trips to the gold zone, as Hackett calls it, with 3 touchdowns to show for themselves. Just incredibly an embarrassing and pathetic effort. That, by the way, ranks dead last in the NFL. Not that you didn't already know that, because there's no way you can score a touchdown on 21% of your red zone drives, 1 in 5 attempts pretty much, and not finish at the bottom of the barrel. A lot of takeaways from this game. I want to show some tweets and some quotes from the aftermath of what was a dead body in the Broncos locker room. I mean, if I told you before the game, by the way, hey, the Colts aren't going to score a touchdown. You put every little bit of life savings you have on the Broncos, and they still failed you. Lindsey Jones, an NFL beat reporter tweeting out, just left the Broncos locker room. It's been about 40 minutes since the game ended. Russell Wilson was still sitting in his locker. Oh, maybe not in his office, because he gets his own office, by the way, in case you didn't know. In full pads, deep and quiet conversation with Nathaniel Hackett. Melvin Gordon also a part of that conversation. I mean, we are past players meeting to save the season. This is just, there are no answers. It's just enjoy the next 10 plus weeks of this, because I don't see it getting any better. Maybe marginally here or there, maybe a big play, but no, I don't think there's going to be someone that's going to swoop in and save the season and turn things around. Now, in case you're wondering, and we'll talk about this more on tomorrow's show, which will be Nathaniel Hackett replacements. Sean Payton, you're asking about his availability? Remember, he is under contract with the Saints. The Broncos would have to trade for him. Payton never had any sort of rumor of a inkling with the Broncos. The Bears and the Cowboys have been rumored to him more, but I don't see a Sean Payton move happening in the near future, but I don't think you're out of bounds for asking. I think it's a very fair question to ask right now. Hey, just asking for a friend here. What's the deal with Sean Payton? Is he really retired, or does he want to come live a mile high? Now, let me throw this question your direction. Will Hackett survive the entire season? Or do you think George Paton just cuts his losses and go, I botched this hire. This was not someone who was ready to take on an NFL head coaching duties and responsibilities. Y for yes, N for no. We don't have a good sample size on how Payton handles head coaches, right? He fired Fangio. Now, does he want to fire Hackett, his hire, a couple weeks into the season? I think he's going to want to stick by his guy for a little bit longer. But at some point, it's going to start to reflect on him. And then he's going to want to make a change because he put together quite the personnel. And he's not happy that that personnel is putting up losses on the standing sheet here. Now, if you are looking for a Nathaniel Hackett replacement video next, because there is no smiles on today's show. It is just no bullshit. Cut to the chase here. It's bad. It's garbage. It's awful. It's fill in the blank. So if that's the kind of video you're looking for, and this is the kind of channel that's not going to sugarcoat it for you, hit that big red button and subscribe. Next meltdown mode here we're going to get to is Russell Wilson cooked. He looks beyond cooked. He looks charred, right? He looks well done at a nice steakhouse. I went full Colin Cowherd for a second. Last night against the Colts, completed about 53% of his passes, 21 for 39. I don't want you to look at that 274 yards and go, oh, he was kind of close to 300. It took him overtime. It took him a 25-yard, 30-yard reception from Melvin Gordon on a screen. He really had about 215 yards, if you ask me, and 2 interceptions. And on the season, nearly 1,300 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. I mean, Seahawks fans are just dunking on Denver right now, saying they won the trade. And at this point, it's hard to argue against that. I mean, I am definitely in the camp of I am in the wrong. I have been debunked. I thought Wilson would be much better than that. And last night, if you haven't seen it, close your eyes because here it is. 4th and 1. He just eyes down Cortland Sutton the entire way. And on the right side of the screen, there's KJ Hamler for a walk-in touchdown. And truth be told, I don't actually have an issue with the play call. We all got on Hackett's case when he didn't put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands on 4th down in Seattle and instead trusted Brandon McManus for a 75-yard field goal. Here, put the ball in Russ's hands. If they run it, which they did on 3rd down and didn't get much, and they were stopped, everyone would have said, I can't believe you didn't put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands. James Palmer, I think this just goes to show maybe there is some just cracks in the locker room. Because you never want to see a player go right to the media and go, I could have walked in, right? Start finger pointing a little bit. Now, the Broncos are saying that's not what's happening in the locker room. But show me a locker room that has ever come out and go, yo, it's a shitstorm in there right now. It is just hair on fire. It is burning down. Russell Wilson, after the game, speaking to the media, said, I let the team down tonight. The good thing is that one thing I know about myself is that I'm going to respond. I don't know any other way. I always believe in myself. I always believe in this team. At least he owned up to it, but I really hated this. If you didn't see it, it's on my Twitter, at Matthew Peterson. Despite a tough night, Russell Wilson still made sure to end his presser with a Broncos Country, let's ride. Dude, read the room. It is not the time to give a let's ride. No one's riding right now. Everyone's dying. There's no let's ride. Shut the fuck up, Russ. Not the time to go Broncos Country, let's ride. Are you so tone deaf that you cannot see this is not a time to be corny, Russ? No one wants that right now. Fans want explanations. And when you get paid about $250 million, a lot of finger points are going to go your way, and you got to take it on the shoulder because it's a $245 million shoulder. I want to get some positive out here today, though, because the defense was awesome last night. Yeah, they kind of, folded at the end there, letting the Colts drive down the field, going 75 yards or whatever to get the game-tying field goal. And in overtime, they let him go down the field and kick a field goal. But still, I don't care. People were worried about this defense without Vic Fangio. Give credit to Evero and this entire side of the football. They're giving up 16 points per game. That's fourth best in the NFL. Total yards, fourth best. 17 sacks. Right now, that leads the NFL. Now, that's going to change when everyone else plays on Sunday. But still, this team had 6 sacks last night against Matt Ryan. Bradley Chubb, I remember in August, I can't remember who, but someone proposed maybe the Broncos should extend Chubb now because he's going to have a phenomenal year when he's healthy, and this will be his cheapest price. And at the time, I kind of ridiculed it, but Chubb this year, 5.5 sacks in 5 weeks. Clap it up for him. He was so close to ending that game, nearly having another forced fumble sack on Matt Ryan that was nearly picked off by Damari Mathis. But Chubb was great. And how about Caden Stearns? I know everyone is down in the dumps right now, but this is a guy who has stepped up without Justin Simmons, your all-pro safety, and has kept the ship afloat from the back end of the secondary. Caden Stearns, you've been great this season. You've been great filling in for Simmons. A lot of people are pissed right now, but deep down, Stearns is like, it ain't my problem. I'm doing just fine right now. But here's the thing here. Here's where I kind of come to a full circle on Russell Wilson. This is the same team as last year, where the defense is kind of carrying the offense, except now this team has 5 fewer draft picks, no first and no second round pick, and they extended a quarterback before he even took a snap. I'm definitely not going to be a hypocrite and say I said that was a bad idea beforehand. But also, George Paton, you're the GM. You're supposed to be smarter than me, the YouTuber. And maybe that was a huge mistake. Now, I don't think 5 games is going to be an accurate representation of Russell Wilson's career in Denver because we're talking about a guy who's not like Tom Brady, right? They didn't get him at 42 for another year or two, and now they're stuck with him for 5. No. Russell Wilson still has a lot of football left in him. The question is that good or bad football? But he's playing for a while. He ain't going away. I just don't know how it's going to be. All right, BetUS is up on the screen now. That's our proud sportsbook partner. We're going to get to the injury news in just a second, but before you start betting on the Broncos, it might be good to know some injury news. So make sure you make all your picks this year at chatsports.com/bet. Promo code Broncos125 unlocks a 125% deposit bonus. A lot of injuries from Thursday Night Football, and that's what happens when you play on Thursday night. We know this. Everyone knows this. The NFL just sees an opportunity to make some extra dollars. So Garett Bolles, unfortunately, had a broken leg, done for the season. There was optimism maybe he could return after 6 weeks, which I never understood how that was possible. Josey Jewell with a knee injury. I mean, after missing the first 2 weeks of the year, he's arguably been the best player on defense the last 2 weeks and, 2 quarters. But he is week to week moving forward. Baron Browning, he exited late in the game with that wrist injury. He is day to day. They need him without Randy Gregory for the next 3 weeks at this point. Ronald Darby, unfortunately, torn ACL. That's it for him this year. So it's going to be Pat Surtain and Damari Mathis, your outside corners. Ojemudia should be returning soon-ish. He was put on IR before the season started, so that means he would miss the first 4 weeks. It's been 5 now. Hopefully he comes back soon. But yeah, Mike Kliss reporting what I just said. Bolles, surgery on broken leg, and Darby done for the season. Now, if you want to exit today's show with some optimism, looking for a light at the end of the tunnel, maybe this Bradley Chubb quote can do that for you. In my tenure of the NFL, this is the best I've seen guys rally around each other. Best I've seen guys stay together. Like nobody's pointing the finger. Nobody is doubting each other. We know it's going to pop. He's in the building, so if he really believes that, I'll try to believe that. But I hear these quotes every year from teams that are failing that we're not giving up on each other. We're not quitting. And then the Jags go 1-15. It's like, well, maybe you were. Now, on our previous video, 2 videos ago actually, before the game kicked off yesterday, I put a call out to you guys saying, hey, whoever can comment the most is going to get a free Russell Wilson t-shirt. I'm going to give some time to let those comments get in, and then I'm going to sit down and go through nearly 3,000 comments and talk to the fine folks at YouTube to figure out who wins this t-shirt. But truth be told, if you don't want this t-shirt anymore, I don't blame you. Because after last night, yeah, free t-shirt's cool and all, but who would brag about wearing a who would brag about getting a free Russell Wilson t-shirt at this point? Still up for grabs, of course, still open for you guys, but the winner, if you opt not to get it, I don't blame you. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Nathaniel Hackett replacements coming your way without a doubt. It's bleak, but there's a lot of football left. 2-3. I'll leave you with this. The Chargers on Monday Night Football in 10 days from now. They play the Browns this week on the road. If the Brownies can knock off the Chargers at home, well, in Cleveland, that's 2-3 teams, not where they want to be. If the Broncos can win that one, they're 3-3, and they've got some momentum going into some easier games like the Jags coming up and the Titans in a bye. So it's not over, but it's not looking good right now.